On paper, the Fender Acoustasonic should be welcomed with open arms into the world of guitar players that are looking for something very versatile. The problem with it was never the sound, it was never the looks, it was never the incessant YouTube marketing. The problem was that it was too expensive. Guitar reviewers such as myself, plus general members of the wonderful guitar community, have always said that if the price was less, we'd be more interested. Well, today's our lucky day. Because, fellow guitar geeks, here is the Fender Acoustasonic Made in Mexico Player Series. Ta-da! It looks the same, kind of feels the same, weighs about the same, smells the same. Is it the same? No, but it's pretty darn close. It is, however, coming in at just over $1,000, about half the price of the American one. Those are a few sounds from the guitar just to wet your whistle a little bit, just to get you interested in what the sounds are, because I think so far the sounds are pretty darn fine. And no, Fender did not ask me to say that. However, Fender did send me this guitar and they did pay me to make this video. They also paid the video editor, which is Dennis. Hi, Dennis! No, Fender aren't paying me to say anything. They sent me the guitar and said you can say anything you like. So I'm going to, as I always do. You might be wondering where the sounds are coming from. They're coming from this, the Boss Cube Street 2, which is a busking amp with an acoustic setting on the top. So I'm running it through the acoustic amp part of that. I am not running it through a tube amp, one of the many that I have, and there's a very good reason for that. I don't think it sounds very good. Before I get too deep into the sounds, if you've never heard of an Acoustasonic guitar before, I'll run quickly through what it is, what it does, and how it does it. The Acoustic Player Telecaster, the Acoustasonic, is a Telecaster-shaped guitar. Think of it as an acoustic guitar for electric guitar players. That's how I see it. I don't see it as an electric guitar for acoustic guitar players, even though your opinion may differ. Pick one up and let me know. Okay, so that's your choice. I see it as someone who plays electric that wants a bit of acoustic. Inside the Acoustasonic is a Fishman and Fender designed pickup system, which is very similar but not the same as the American version. We've got a 3-way switch just here, rather than the 5-way which came with the American. We've got a volume knob here, and this is not tone, it's a blend. This is the budget cut down, Fender call it greatest hits of the Acoustasonic, which is, I think they've done it to, number one, reduce costs, so they can bring the costs down, although I'm not sure how much that would bring it down. Maybe the real reason for the cynics among us is if they gave you everything you needed in the Mexican Acoustasonic version, why would you buy the American version? That's something to think about. Anyway, back to what it does. So, back to the pickup switch. This in position 3, position 2, position 1. Position 3 gives us the acoustic sounds. And as you can see on screen, there are 2 acoustic sounds. There's the small-bodied, I'd say Martin 𝗚𝗚 sound, and then the other larger dreadnought, which I'd say is a Gibson Hummingbird sound. So one's going to be a lot warmer, a lot rounder, maybe more for strumming, and one's going to be more for finger picking and other sounds. You can use the blend knob to blend between those 2 sounds, 3A and 3B, the small acoustic and the large acoustic. So all the way off, if it were a volume or a tone, you get 3A. All the way on, you get 3B. And then anywhere in between is a blend of those 2 very different sounds. Position 2 gives us the next group of sounds, so all the way off is 2A, all the way on is 2B. 2A is lo-fi, which is just the piezo pickup, so the under-saddle pickup coming through, non-affected, just that piezo sound that we're all used to from electroacoustic guitars. 2B, however, is something called lo-fi crunch, where Fender say it's like a piezo pickup under saddle mixed with an overdriven crunchy guitar. So you have a blend of electric guitar and acoustic guitar at the same time. It's odd. For this one, I'm going to first play it through the Boss Cube Street 2, then I'm going to play it through a tube amp. Now, bear with me. I don't think that sounds very good. I think the crunchy sound, the lo-fi crunch, when you strum with it and when you play chords, is the weakest feature of the guitar. However, when you use that in a lead sort of manner, so play a melody with it rather than playing chords like I just did, it does come alive a little bit more. So I'm going to lay down a loop with position 3, with 3B, which is one of my favorite sounds, and then play something lead over top of it with 2A. I hope this is clear. Right, here we go. Here's a loop. And in that context, it sounds pretty good. It certainly sounds different. So when you're looping, and if I just had an acoustic guitar that just had a piezo pickup, I would have to have a pedal or something to change that tone. I like, as a looping player and as a acoustic player, to have different tones when layering different layers. And having that 2B mode, even though it sounds awful when you strum with it, sounds pretty nice when you lay just some kind of melody over it. Okay, I promised you this through a tube amp. This is what it sounds like through a tube amp. The Fender Deluxe Reverb. And I don't think that sounds good at all. I think that this is not made to go through a tube amp. I really think that the guitar is being processed enough and it's designed to be put through a PA speaker. So putting it through a tube amp processes it twice, in a sense. So it doesn't sound good. I could be, I wouldn't say wrong. Your mileage may vary, and I recommend that you do try it through a tube amp. Let's move to position 1, which is the Telecaster sounds. I've been excited about this one. Now, moving this pickup selector into position 1 gives us this Tim Shaw designed Telecaster pickup. First, I'm going to put it through the tube amp, the Fender Deluxe Reverb. Then I'm going to play the same thing on an actual Telecaster, on my custom shop telly, just to see what the sounds sound like. Then I'll put the Acoustasonic through the Boss. Here we go. I know we're talking about sounds, but the Acoustasonic feels very, very similar to an electric guitar, and it's actually a little bit nicer to play than this. I'm a little bit out of shape, but the Acoustasonic plays wonderfully. However, even though the Acoustasonic's telly pickup is in the bridge, it sounds warmer, rounder to my ear in the room, so I'm going to flip that and do that again on the neck pickup. And let's go back to the 𝗨𝗚𝗘𝗥𝗧𝗏 just to see the difference one more time. So through a tube amp, it doesn't sound the same as a telly, but that's not really fair also because that's about 3 times the price of this. That's a custom shop. I think this one is not designed to outplay a custom shop. That wouldn't be good Fender business, would it? Right, let's try the fat setting. So that's position 1, and then turn it all the way up, which is 1B, giving us the fat Telecaster pickup tone. Again, I don't think that sounds great when you really dig in, so... But it's a kind of passable tone if you need a tone that isn't your acoustic plugged in. So again, I really think this guitar is, or should be aimed towards someone who is a one-person setup. So imagine if you're busking and you're looping, that's amazing. If you're just busking, you want something else, or you want to provide and take a soundscape but take only one guitar, this would do it, as long as you don't try and push it into a mainly guitar-based song. Or one of those like kind of tiny desk concert things where you do need to give some kind of lead line, but don't want to have to switch guitars. I think it works. Also, a quick note on quality control or sounds. Position 1, 1B, which is the fat noiseless telly pickup, actually gives me some noise. It doesn't do it in position 1A, only 1B. It could be because there seems to be more gain in the circuit. That seems to be the case, but it's certainly not a humbucker. It is doing something that makes it sound fatter, but not noiseless. Now, the guitar is in mode 2A, yes, which gives us that raw signal from the Piezo pickup. I should be able to put this into my DAW, so it's going via DI now, and you're going to hear it just raw pickup. This is going to sound awful, but then I'll put the plug-in on, and it will clear everything up, I think. Let's find out. Now I'm going to stop recording and go and listen to that and then come back to make sure it's done what I think it's done. Back in a second. That was the acoustic voice plugin from Nembrini Audio, and it did exactly what I hoped it would do. It took that dry piezo sound and made it sound beautiful. If you want more information about that plugin, I did a little video about that, and that's on a card just there. I'll also put a link in the video description if you want to purchase said plugin. I wholly recommend it. This is a large condenser microphone from Lewitt Audio. It's about 7 inches in front of the guitar and directly where the neck and the body join just here. So I'm mixing in a bit of the sound hole with that part. Here's what it sounds like. I'm surprised at how direct and how vibrant that sounds. So it is a usable unplugged sound, but it doesn't sound like it from the player's perspective. Apologies for that. Sometimes you get it wrong. Sometimes I get it wrong. Final test. This is my Builder's Edition 517E from Taylor. It's one of my favorite acoustic guitars and definitely one of the best ones I've ever heard plugged in. It does cost twice as much as the Acoustasonic Player Telly. That's hard to say. So, is it a fair test? Probably not. Also, in the room, I'm going to hear more acoustic guitar because it's bigger, it's a real acoustic. So what you hear is going to be recorded through the Boss. Okay, here we go. As I said, in the room, the Taylor feels like more of an acoustic guitar because it is an acoustic guitar. However, I'm going to go back now and listen to those two sound samples so I can hear the difference from the piezo pickup. An unfair test because of the price ranges, but still an interesting one, I think. Okay, I heard it back, and I would be interested to know what you think of those two sound samples. So let me know in the comments section, because I think the Acoustasonic holds its own. I think it keeps up, and certainly, again, for live gigs and stuff, this is doing really, really well. So those are most of the sounds that I think are relevant from the Acoustasonic. What I will say is that from the player's position, I've really enjoyed playing this guitar. I sat with it on the couch last night. I've had it for about 24, 30, 36 hours now, and I've played it more than any other guitar. The sounds are good enough and really nice for the couch, but I think it really comes into its own when you're talking about live performances plugged in and or studio sessions where the guitar may not be the main instrument, but certainly you need a guitar in there. I think this is really holding its own. Let's talk about something else. Let's talk about the looks. The Acoustasonic Player Series Telecaster is available in 4 different colours, and Fender asked me which one I wanted to review, and I said, this one please, because I think it's the most beautiful looking of all 4. That being said, the burst looks nicer to me on the American versions. So if we have on screen now a picture of the American version, I see those bursts, they seem more of a gradual gradient. This seems more like a dollop of colour in the middle into black. Not that I don't like this, and it's certainly in the flesh, it seems more beautiful than it is on this screen that I'm looking at right now. So you can kind of see sort of black into brown into orangey yellow. In real life, it is the same, but it's a little less more immediate. There is more of a gradual fade. But I will say that I think the American looks slightly better. I know that each guitar looks different, but so far the front is a little bit dolloped in the middle. That could just be this model though. The rest of the guitar I think looks fantastic. I've liked the Acoustasonic even when it first came out. The shocker is this big hole, and apparently it does something to enable the sound to come through. If it does or it doesn't, it's certainly a bold statement, and it does look like a donut. And I'd love to know what they do with the holes, joke, etc., etc. The neck is beautiful to look at on both sides. Just looking at the guitar, the wood's used and the lack of lacquer, so it's not covered in too much paint or too much clear lacquer. They really let the wood show through, and I love guitars that I can feel the wood and feel close to the piece of wood that made this guitar. That's necessary on an acoustic because I need to feel an organic connection. As far as with looks, and also the Fender badge up here, the engraved Fender badge, it looks almost exactly the same as the American version. I think it's a gorgeous looking guitar in this colour. My second choice would be the black one. The other 2 colours, a little bit too out there for me. I think I could get away with this on stage. I don't think I could get away with the other colours. I want to talk about the build quality because it is something that is obviously on your mind, this being a Mexican guitar compared to a USA guitar. First, let me put your worries at ease by saying that this is a beautifully made guitar, but don't let me just talk to you about it, let's have a look at it close up. So, what's inside the Player Series Acoustasonic Telecaster? Let's find out. Wow, I didn't know what I expected, but what's interesting is just here, oh you can't see it, hang on, I'm going to zoom in. Just here is a mini USB port. So if anyone's ever looked inside an American version, maybe that's where you do an update of a firmware, because that could be possible. So, yeah, okay, that's interesting. We've just got a wire here that's put through that hole, and then it's held on by the pick guard, or what's that called? Back shield cover. So there's our USB. There is some stuff going on probably to the power. No, power's probably there. That says Mexico Acoustasonic Telecaster Revision 5 Fishman. Just here is the USB socket. And then we've got, coming in here, we've got power and the jack socket. Everything's sort of wired in. I don't know. What would you say? I'm not really up on guitars with PCBs in them. However, there doesn't seem anything wrong with that at all. Interestingly, the date just here says 23rd of November 2020. And I only found out about these guitars a couple of weeks ago. So if you're watching this on the day of release, then I've only known about it for about 2 weeks more than you have. Which means Fender have been developing this for over a year. Good to know. That's how long it takes to build one of these things. So, okay. I think they must have had this like pretty soon after they did the American one. I'm taking this plastic off now, which is proving difficult. Right, let's pop that back on and have a look inside this one. Aha. Oh, and there's the back of the pickup. Oh, loads of good stuff going on in here. That says NAMVT, Most Valuable Telecaster. Anyone with OCD, Michiel, is going to absolutely hate that. That's the most unpleasant experience with this guitar so far. Everything else has been wonderfully positive. This, not so much. Let's have a look at the wood. The wood is cut beautifully. Obviously, with the machine, no issue there, and no other things to be expected. But the machine has done a wonderful job. No glue that I can see that shouldn't be there. Overall, the build quality in the inside seems top-notch. Let's take a quick look at the neck joint. That looks as clean as it possibly could be. I love the way that this neck plate is recessed into the body. I don't know if you can actually... Can you see that? It's not above the body, it's recessed. And I think it looks great. They could have also recessed these screws a little bit more, maybe. But generally speaking, that sticks out more than that does. Anyway, I've got some close-ups to show you. I'll overlay those as I talk about the fretwork, etc. Fretwork's really good. There is no playing issue there whatsoever. Everything is shiny as heck. The rosewood on the fretboard is beautiful. The mahogany is... I don't know. It's just really high quality. There is nothing to me that says this is a lower priced guitar. There is nothing that says this has been made on the cheap. It plays like an electric guitar, so it's about the same depth as my Fender Telly, so it feels like a Telly. It has this lovely little curve just here. There, can you see it? Which kind of looks odd when you see this paint. It's like, hang on, what's going on there? But as a player, I enjoy that so much that I might even do the terrible thing of doing that to my actual Telly. That makes it so comfortable. I think that's probably one of my favourite parts of the guitar. Ridiculous to say, but it's true. The guitar feels firm to play. So there's a lot of tension on the strings, which means that if you want to be up bending those, it's not going to happen that much. It doesn't play like an electric in that sense. That being said, I'm pretty sure Anderton's put electric guitar strings on the American Acoustasonic, and they've strung that like an electric. Perfectly doable. Because also with the micro tilt at the back, you can adjust the neck. So if you did want to do a setup, hang on. Fender say don't do a setup on it, so don't do a setup. But if you did want to change this a different gauge of strings and you needed to readjust like the shim and of course the truss rod, it's all possible because you can do it. Not necessarily possible on an acoustic guitar. I'm going to stop thinking of this as a cheap attempt at making an Acoustasonic and making it in Mexico and halving the price. I'm going to think of it as a guitar in its own right, the Affordasonic, which has its own merits, which the American version does not. One thing that is the absolute saviour of this guitar series is the 9-volt battery. That 9-volt battery powers the magic stuff going on inside. The American version has a USB socket just here. And I don't want a USB socket anywhere near a guitar that I'm about to take on stage. If I was about to go on stage with something that may or may not be charged, I wouldn't be able to focus. What I want is to, pre-gig, put a brand new 9-volt battery in there, close that up, and off you go. Now you know you're ready to go and you know it's charged, you know it's ready to go. You can't do that when it's got something inside that needs to be charged. Also, a battery like that has a maximum number of charges it can hold. That is a much better idea than an onboard lithium rechargeable battery. That's better than American. This version only has a 3-way switch, whereas the Americans have a 5-way. When I first started playing this guitar, we had 3 major sounds. We had the acoustic, we had the piezo and the piezo crunch, then we have the pickup and the pickup fat. I thought that was a mistake because I thought that the piezo side was more electric than it was acoustic. I'm wrong, even though you didn't know that I thought that. The Piezo is absolutely brilliant because I can use that IR loader that I did with the plugin in the video. That's brilliant. I would recommend having that. I wouldn't be without that. The lo-fi crunch, as Fender call it, I don't really see the point in that apart from having another voice that you can use as a guitarist in a band. I wouldn't have that and play it solo. It doesn't sound good. Then the Tele pickup, it's an approximation. It sounds okay. Don't put it through, pedals and expecting it to sound like a real Tele. It doesn't. But it is an approximation. That is not the strength of this guitar, I fear. I'd even be happy if Fender had not included that at all and just given us position 3 and 2, the Piezo and the modelled Gibson and Martin. I think that is definitely the strength of this guitar. I am also kind of missing a tone control. But you can kind of control the tone by using the blend knob. If I were to play something on 3A, it's quite bright, quite punchy, and then put it onto 3B, it's noticeably warmer, bigger, rounder. And then I would call that the darker. So it's like having tone rolled off a little bit. So by using the blend and putting it somewhere in the middle, you can use it to adjust tone. So you can make the bright sound darker or the dark sound brighter. It does work as a tone control. It's not exactly what I want, but it does. You just have to adjust your thinking. And I actually had to learn how to use this guitar rather than just plug it in and make a video for you. And because it's such a joy to play, it was a joy getting to know this guitar. And you're probably gathering that I've got a lot of nice things to say about this. This guitar, sometimes I get guitars to review and I think, yeah, that's an okay guitar. It doesn't speak to me. I will give it back, or I will sell it, or I'll give it away to somebody that needs it. This one is not going anywhere. This one's going to stay with me for business reasons, for using in the studio so I can actually make music with it, but also for busking and playing in a band live. This is definitely something I need in my guitar arsenal. My guitarsenal, if you will. I feel that I've kept you long enough and I've waxed lyrical about the Acoustasonic Player Tele enough, so time for my final verdict. I was in California at the Fender plant when they were just about to release the first American Acoustasonic. They were so excited, the place was covered in Acoustasonics, and they were so proud of these guitars, and I just thought, the same as everybody else, definitely after they were released, they were too expensive. They were too much of a gamble for someone to think, do I need that instrument in my life? Can I learn how to integrate that with my current rig to get my money's worth? And I still don't think that the American version can entirely be worth it, especially now we have this, the Made in Mexico Player Series version. I hope this is not like one that's been cherry-picked or one that stands out from the bunch and every other guitar is as good as this, because this one is just phenomenal. And for $1,200 roughly, that's what Fender told me, if you find the use for it, if you need that sort of guitar, that tool in your setup, there isn't anything else on the market that will do what this does. If you want a Telecaster, buy a Telecaster. If you want an acoustic guitar, buy an acoustic guitar. If you want a tool that does kind of lots of things and gives you lots of versatility, this might be the one for you. Congratulations on getting this far in the video. I'm assuming you're interested in possibly buying an Acoustasonic Player Series. If you do, there's affiliate links, But if you actually get to go to a shop and play one, which I recommend you do, or when you unbox it, whatever, don't do this. Sounds awful. Doesn't sound anything like an acoustic guitar. The biggest tip I can give you if you pick up one of these to play is to plug it into some kind of PA box or powered speaker, something with some reverb to give it, some space to be in, and hear it as a guitar over the speaker, not something that you expect to sound like an acoustic guitar. It isn't going to give you that big warm feeling because it just isn't physically possible. Physics don't allow it, baby. Also, electrics, it ain't that good there yet. Or at least I haven't found a setting that I like that will convince you that this is an electric guitar yet. What this is perfect for anyone that does looping. If you do looping and you need a guitar that goes through a looping pedal and then a speaker and you want some different tones, This one is superb. Get it, because it's going to give you so many different layers that you can layer upon with your looping pedal, and then just cut through in different ways. And also you can do percussive stuff and that sort of thing. It is also someone, if you're in a covers band, you could probably get away with this in a covers band because most audiences don't listen to the guitar tone anyway. I think the places you're going to have issues is if you try and come across as authentic with one of these. It still feels and still looks a little bit weird to be on stage with this. I hope that changes, because this is a good enough instrument for me to risk being laughed at on stage. There, I said it. I'm going to do it. I'll even go as far as saying this is now my main busking guitar. So I'm going to take this out on the street with the Roland Cube Street 2 and try and make some money. And I guarantee you that the public are not going to say, look at that funny looking guitar. Or if they do, it'll be in a positive way. So try and take off your guitar snob eyes if you have them. I really think this is something that's a positive benefit for the guitar community. If you work in a studio, a home studio, and you produce music of some kind that has a guitar in the mix, I would really recommend giving this a look, because there is a lot of versatile tonality going on for $1,200 or thereabouts. If the guitar is the primary instrument in your mix, I don't think this is going to cut it. It really isn't. There might be a way, but I would prefer a real acoustic guitar over this. However, if you just need something to add some guitar lines and stuff in, give it a try. Also, as I proved to myself last night, it's a wonderful couch guitar. So if you need something that's a little bit louder than acoustic, so you can actually hear what you're playing, but not so loud that it annoys other people in the room, you can still actually watch TV over the volume of this guitar, yeah, I'd go for that as well. That's how you can possibly persuade your spouse. So, Acoustasonic Player Telecaster, pros. Lots of sounds on board, beautifully built guitar, really nice to play, extremely comfortable and inspiring. It's got a 9-volt battery, which is way, way better than the onboard battery in the American version. And of course, there's that price. It's now still not cheap, but definitely affordable if you want these features in a guitar. $2,000 is too much. 1,000, 1,200, it's getting close to being, well, it's as cheap as you're going to get for this, I think. If they released a Squier version, it would just be too cheap to have these materials. It doesn't play like a cheap guitar, it doesn't feel like a cheap guitar, and I don't think it sounds like a cheap guitar. The cons of this guitar is it still is £1,200. It's still a lot of money. It doesn't look like a real acoustic guitar. It also doesn't look like a real electric guitar. It's going to get you some weird looks, but that might be good. I think the only time people are going to have an issue with this is if there are other guitar players saying, oh, that's an Acoustasonic, that's rubbish. It's not. This is a quality instrument that deserves to be part of the guitar world. Fender have nailed it with this model. As far as I can tell, the case for this is the same as the American case, which I see no reason why it should be different, because these are probably made in China. But that's a very, very protective case. It's got padding in all the right places. At the bottom there's extra padding, and even this little rubbery kind of thing where the strap button goes. This case is not something you want to, soft case, is not something you want to stuff under a load of other gear. But you could definitely take that on public transport, definitely carry it a long way. It's got backpack straps as well, I believe. Yes, so you can wear it as a backpack. And it will protect your guitar, or an electric guitar if you want to use this case for something else. It won't fit an acoustic guitar, of course. For the price, well, not even for the price, that's a quality case. Something not to be missed. You've made it to the end of the video. Congratulations, you've learned everything there is to learn from me about the Acoustasonic. So, to prove that you have made it this far, and you are indeed a member of the End of the Video Club, when you leave a comment down below in this video telling me what you thought of the Acoustasonic Player Telecaster, please include the word Affordasonic. And that'll let me know that you watched this, and it'll make me laugh in the comments section. And also, it'll improve my YouTube metrics, if we're totally honest. Thanks. You guys often ask me how you can help me grow my channel, and one of those ways is that you can just leave a comment on a video. If you're in the live chat, by the way, if this is a premiere, and we're talking in the premiere at the moment, don't write that end of the video stuff in the premiere. That's not where it counts. You have to go to the comments section once the premiere has finished, and then do it. That's when it counts. So, you know, help a brother out. Also, before I leave you, let's put our hands together a little bit for the Boss Cube Street 2. I've got a video coming up on it, but I just want to say that it is absolutely performed phenomenally right now. It's exactly the piece of gear that I needed to show you this. So thanks, boss. Well done on creating a great little amp. Anyway, that's it from me and the Acoustasonic Player Telecaster. I hope you haven't been bombarded with too many Player Telecaster Acoustasonic videos on the internet today, and that you've enjoyed yourself and learned a little bit as well, maybe. There's videos all around your screen that you can click and watch, and if you want to support the channel, then do so by watching one of those. Thank you very, very much. I will see you very soon. Bye-bye!